Greetings and welcome to the Astronomy Picture of the Day podcast. Today's picture for December 28th of 2025 is titled NGC 1898, Globular Cluster in the Large Magellanic Cloud. So what do we see here? Well, here we see stars, and lots of stars packed closely together. This is an example of what is known as a globular cluster, and in fact a very distant one, over 160,000 light years away, meaning that we see it not as it is today, but as it looked 160,000 years ago. Has it changed much? Probably not. Stars don't change much on that kind of time frame. Now, this is an example of what we call a globular cluster located in the Large Magellanic Cloud, which is a satellite galaxy to our own Milky Way. Globular clusters have enough stars and enough mass that they are gravitationally bound together and are some of the oldest objects that we find in the universe. And that's because they have never spread apart. Now, our sun was once part of a cluster, but not a globular cluster like this, a smaller open cluster. And those stars in those kinds of clusters do not have enough gravity to stay together, do not have enough to hold each other bound, and they therefore slowly spread out over time out into space so that we no longer see the stars that once used to be our neighbors in a star cluster when we formed. Within a globular cluster, those stars remain and remain forever. In fact, globular star clusters can easily be 10 billion years old or even more, meaning that they date back to the early history of the universe and give us some keys to be able to study what the universe might have been like long ago. Now, while the cluster itself doesn't change, some of the stars do slowly evolve. Not things that would change in 100,000 years or so, but we can see differences in the colors of the stars here. We see blue stars and we can see red stars. And those are telling us about two different temperatures. Blue stars being hotter stars, red stars being cooler stars. And that tells us some of those red stars are some of the bigger, more massive evolved stars, and in fact could be stars like our own sun that have evolved away, used up their hydrogen in their cores, and are now changing. So our sun will eventually do something like this in another 6 billion years or so when it exhausts the hydrogen in its core. Now, we study these again to learn about the very early history of things like our galaxy. We can look at the patterns within the clusters and the types of stars that are there to narrow down the age and to get a rough idea of the ages of these clusters, telling us when they formed. And that helps put limits on how old our galaxy is and how old the universe is by looking at these clusters like. So that was our picture of the day for December 28th of 2025. It was titled NGC 1898, Globular Cluster in the Large Magellanic Cloud. We'll be back again tomorrow for the next picture, previewed to be Boom Star. So we'll see what that is about tomorrow. And until then, have a great day, everyone, and I will see you in class.